Well, hey, party people, it's Cliff. And it is not the morning, it is the afternoon. And I am getting ready to go home. And I wanted to elaborate. Oh, you know what? I actually figured out how to make this thing stay up so the camera can stay up. So the phone's not going to be falling down on the thing. I don't know what this semi-truck is doing, but I'm not going to mess around with him. But yeah, what is it? You'll own nothing and enjoy it. You know, that world is coming. And my argument is that world's already here. You know, name something you own that can't be taken away, right? Yeah, somebody can, maybe you own some Blu-ray DVDs, somebody can break in your house and steal them. Well, maybe you have maybe you have your data on a server encrypted, somewhere online. Well, do you pay for the internet access? What happens if you stop paying for internet access? Well, maybe you own your house outright, like you live on a piece of land, out there in the middle of nowhere. Well, what happens when you stop paying property tax? They're going to take your house away. What happens when, you get in a car and you don't pay your registration fees? They're going to take your car away. We're already living in a society that is going to take away all the things that are going to they're going to take it away from you if you don't pay money for them. And in that kind of logic and regard, like, you really don't own anything. You're always renting. There is that impression of owning things. And I think the only thing that you can actually truly own is certain types of cryptocurrency. And only if you take control of it. Then again, it's like you still need to have an internet connection somehow. So you're going to have access some way in some form or fashion. And that is the world we live in. And the sooner you realize that, like, the sooner that you can basically adapt your life to it. The unfortunate thing about this system or society nowadays is that it is encouraging you to do work. And in order to do that work, obviously that means you can't just sit and do nothing, because the system won't allow you to sit and do nothing. You have to do something. And so everyone's trying to figure out, like, what is the best way to do something, to get work, to get money, to get all the things, so that way you can survive in the system. And that's sort of the game. That's just how it is. And supposedly, like, the longer you play the game, the longer you realize that a lot of the stuff in the system that people sell you, that you want to get and you want to obtain, you really don't need. Right? In economics, it's need versus wants. Advertisements is about training your brain to get it to switch from a want to a need. I need to have that latest iPhone. I need to have that latest sports car. I need to have that, like, I need to get it before it all goes away, right? The fear of missing out is another thing. Oh, look at people all honking and being excited today. And I suppose that's how I look at the world. At least here in the States. Is that everything, that's just kind of how I see it. Yeah, there's a little BMW guys trying to get around, but there's a red light up ahead. So, he'll be fine. But anyway, like, for somebody, like, who, when I was growing up, I didn't make too much. I made enough to, buy gas at 89 cents a gallon and drive around with my friends and hang out, get some food at Taco Bell. Now, I don't do that. I basically, curtail my experience to be like, all right, well, I'm going to drive to work and I'm going to drive home, and I'm going to drive to the gas station to get gas and repeat it all over again. And depending on your financial situation, you're going to look at the system in a very different way. And the way that you should look at it is what in your immediate, like, vicinity and in your income bracket and in your wealth bracket, can you do things that are going to generate income, and how are you going to use the system that exists to generate that income? Because capitalism is not perfect. It's terrible. It's not terrible. It's not perfect, but it's a great system. And here's the reason, right? Is that, you know, my parents, my dad was from Kansas, my mom was from Hong Kong. And they grew up, for lack of a better word, poor. They grew up poor. And it's not poor in the sense of like, you know, it's financial poor, but there was a way back in those days, like, you know, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where the way to do it, good Lord, diesel is $8 a gallon? Jeez, all right, I guess so. You know, $6.29 a gallon. Anyway, back in those days when things were better, you know, my parents grew up in a time where buying a house, buying property, you know, and then rotating that property into another property and then increasing the wealth and doing all that, starting your own business was the way to go. And nowadays, I don't think that's the method. I really think that because, you know, just like in the 80s, just like now, there's so many like little opportunity things that you just don't know about unless you get outside and like go to places. And YouTube isn't going to show you that. Like, YouTube isn't going to show you this video, you know, if you don't like watching it. And like, social media kind of curtails everyone into like very, very linear things, right? And so one of the things is like whatever, like with your income bracket and your wealth bracket, like there are certain things that you can do that, you know, either you develop a new skill or learn a new computer software program. And I guess like the overall thing is just learn how to be valuable to others. And the only way you can know what value others want is when you talk with them, is when you go out and you actually talk with people. And that's where I think the disconnect is, right? Social media makes videos and all the content and filters it down to the stuff that you like to watch. So you can doom scroll and you can click on, you know, and keep watching and keep watching and keep watching, and you get trapped there. And so those things, but when you break out of that mold, when you go to a location that you're not comfortable with and like it's uneasy, and you go out there and you talk with different people, you get to learn about different things. You get to learn about different ideas. You get to learn about different like social things. And it doesn't have to be crazy, right? It can be going to a new place wherever you are in your small town. Like, you know, go to the store that you've never been to, right? I think there's a place across the street from my place, which is a butcher shop, but it was like an Indian, you know, butcher shop where they had a whole bunch of meats there and like spices, and I'd never seen it before. And I walked in there and I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to come back, you know, because there's some cool stuff. And usually that breaks you out of the social media trance, you know, and the financial trance, is that when you go into a new place and you look at something and, you know, and the first thing you want to do is you say like, well, I guess in business, right? Like, so, oh my gosh, dude, guys, like, calm the fuck down. Oh man, you saw him on the thing as a motorbike and just running through, just dipping in and out of traffic. It's like, okay, you know, hey, if you want to live your life like that, that's totally fine. You know, there's another thing too, and I think it's a mentality thing, right? With the business, with not only business but like a person's character and integrity. And if you have that like integrity and, you know, being a gentleman and you know, being good and just having values that are honorable, then it doesn't matter where you go into, you know, it doesn't matter what place you go to, like you're always going to find you're just always going to find solutions to problems. And I guess that's how I kind of lived in Hollywood as well, and made it and did all right, was because I was a person that had a certain set of skills, you know, and I'll find you, and when I do, I'll kill you, Liam Neeson. No, but I developed a certain set of skills that are valuable and in demand out here in Hollywood. And obviously, because I got laid off, like, that meant nothing. It's not that it didn't mean nothing. It's that the relationship that I built with a lot of producer friends and a lot of coworkers and everything recognize those skills. And it's not anyone else. It's, hundreds of people got laid off in that Sony thing, and then Disney, and now the Warner Brothers thing. But I digress. In other words, you got to look at what you can provide to other people. And when you provide and when you develop a skill that to other people is valuable, then that's when you get paid for it. And that can be service work. That could be, that could be driving around for Uber. That could be delivering stuff. That could be, working at this place or that place. And sometimes and also too, in that world, it's also going to college and getting a degree in like medicine and like, or being an attorney and like studying the law and passing these exams. I'm willing to bet that you could go out and look at all the different, trade school courses and see what is in demand, and that's what you got to do. You also got to keep in mind that, like, build yourself up as, build your skills, learn something new, like, look at what is in demand, or lack thereof, or what's needed, or what people are what people are complaining about. Actually, I think if people complain about a lot of things like, oh, I can't believe that my kid can't go to this school for XYZ. I don't know the reason. But if you look at what a lot of people are complaining about, and you go and you create a service around solving that particular problem, I bet you'd make some money. It's kind of like, a whole slew of YouTube videos right now that's saying, the system is terrible, like everything's bad, like all Americans are, suffering. And, the people that are not suffering are not making those videos. And I've told this before where, like out of 450 million people, in the United States, 1 million people like make YouTube videos, right? And out of 1 million people, maybe 10,000 of those people like make a video about how the system sucks. And then out of those 10,000 people, you see about 100 people that says that the system really sucks and it fucked me over, and if you watch 100 videos a day of just those people, right, that are like, oh, the system like sucks and it fucked me over, you think everybody in the world says that, the system sucks and it fucked me over, right? But it's just like the guy driving the Tesla, like, is not worried about gas. Yeah, they're worried about their car payment, don't get me wrong, but they're not worried about like the gas or the this prices of that. Or the person driving the Tesla overbought and bought too much car, and now they're worrying about like losing their car, or worrying about having to go out and like make more money in order to keep that lifestyle. And I've said this before on a couple of videos where I'm like, something, I don't need to do a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I don't need to go see a movie every weekend. I actually do pay for Netflix. I pay for Amazon, all the streaming services. You don't need them, but I pay for them, not for myself, but for my folks. So my parents can watch them, because they're old and they want to do, they watch a lot of movies, and I grew up watching movies, and that's why I'm working in this industry, and that's why I'm having a good time. And then, the other thing too is like, I treat every, what the hell's going over here? I don't know. There's like a spinny thing over there. Maybe somebody's doing something. I don't know. But yeah, I treat myself as in like, I'm going to get fired tomorrow. And because of that, like, I don't know. You look at these videos and people are saying, woe is me, woe is me. And then I'm like, that's a nice hat you got there. How much that hat cost? $25? How much do those earrings cost? What about that chain around your neck? How about that watch? How much do those cost? What about all the stuff on your shelf, in your room? What about all the things? What about that mic that you got? I don't have a mic here. I just use a damn cell phone, right? Now, granted, I bought a mic at home and like streaming and all that stuff for video games. That's a different story. But I can guarantee you look at all these folks that are saying, woe is me, and like the system sucks and blah, blah, blah. And then you really look at the video and then you say like, oh, well, you're wearing earrings, you know, okay. Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm just like, I can't, you know, part of me is like, yes, you should have some creature comforts. You should have something that makes you happy. You should do whatever. But I tell you, building real wealth is boring. Building real wealth, you know, and I guess it's like distracting. It's like building wealth is, you know, it's boring, it's basic, it's math, it's not glamorous, it cannot be translated into a YouTube video, because all it is sitting down and basically saying, all right, what's my budget? You know, how much money do I have in the bank? What am I allowed to spend that money on? You know, do I have enough money to like reach the end of the night? And then your entire time else in your spare time should either be looking for like a side gig at night, you know. A friend, he cleans carpets, but the great thing is like it pays him enough, and he can do it at any time he wants. Like he basically, you know, it's just like Uber but cleaning carpets, you know. Like put your pride and your ego kind of aside and say like, okay, in this system, because that's the other thing too. It's like a lot, like if the folks who are complaining about the system, stop fucking complaining about the system. The system is what it is. And if you're, you know, it is what it is, you got to be like, okay, this is the system. I got to either adapt or die. I guess that's what makes me like, you know, makes me frustrated, is that the system is here and I've utilized it to, you know, in my life and my personality to be like, hey, like these are the things, you know, these are the things that I do. And, you know, I tell you, I try to tell friends, I try to tell family members, and I'm like, I can't, because nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And, you know, and if you get to this part of the video, it's like, oh, you want to hear what I have to say? It's like, it's like everyone's individual, like, you know, who you are is very different. And your situation is different from mine. You know, what I got going on in my mind right now is that Chase Huge, a good behavioral expert, you know, has a whole bunch of, you know, great books and great ideas, but he had this one video about how the entire universe, or like, people have figured out what life actually means. And I agree. It's like, you as a person are the universe. You are decided, you know, you are in this world, you got to learn it, you got to figure it out, you got to adapt, and then you got to, like, you know, and the key is to help people somehow, and money is a thank you, you know. Like, you got to be a little bit selfish too. Like look, going to the gym is selfish. Going to the gym helps out nobody else except for you. And everyone talks about going to the gym as being like, oh, you got to be healthy, you got to do this, you got to do that, with the impression of basically like you got to stay healthy in order to go to work, in order to make money, in order to like live life, right? But you got to be a little bit selfish too, right? Because, you know, hey, and you got to be a little bit of an asshole, like a little bit. You have to be caring, and you have to empathize, and you have to sympathize with other folks in their situation. But at the same time, it's like, you know, just today I saw like 4 homeless people. I was on walking to lunch. I can't help them. Let's say that I did, right? Let's say I gave them $1. Well, that's $4. That's $4 out of the bank account. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but tomorrow I'm going to see another like 4 homeless people, 5 homeless people, and give them $1, you know. And then after 30 days, $4 a day put you at, you know, well, that's $100 and something a month. I can't math. I should be able to, but not while I'm driving. But you see, like it's a little bit of, you know, and it goes back to, it just goes back to it is. And maybe I'm explaining how the system has, why is this guy not going into the middle of the thing? Like, oh man, what is this guy? Jeez. But maybe this is the, you know, the way of the world, right? Like, the system is there. It's like, how are you gonna like take, how are you gonna take it's like, it's kind of like, how are you going to take advantage of it? Like, how are you going to utilize the system to benefit yourself? And there's this 50-50 thing where it's like, well, you got to be a little bit selfish, but at the same time, it's like, you got to help people. So you got to be selflessness. But then you can't help too many people, because if you help too many people, like, and give them, give them your hard-earned money, they might be okay, like for a day, but then you're gonna suffer. So there's this whole entire like dichotomy of being a little bit selfish and being a little bit wholesome, and giving folks, doing stuff to solve people's problems, and hopefully they give you money, right? And that's kind of how I think about it. It's not black and white. The system is made up of, humans. Like, we make the system, the people, and it's easy to grab this person or that person, and, who have had success and fame and fortune. And part of me is like, oh yeah, just do what they do. And it's like, you can't really do what they do, because their personality types are not your personality types. So you have to figure out your personality types, like your, ethics, and adapt that to a business that you want to do, something that makes you happy. And I say happy as in the thing that's like, maybe making money is happy. I don't know. But when you provide a service, or you provide a product, or you provide something to somebody else, like that's how the system works. Like, everybody, I remember this example, right? Like, if I get shot in LA, which is, common, right? Unfortunately, I don't like to make jokes, but if I get shot and I'm sitting there on the concrete bleeding out, I don't need, and somebody is there, I need a doctor. I do not need somebody who's nice. I do not need somebody who's wholesome or who has like authenticity or whatever. I need somebody who can fix my problem right now. And so as as the system, as capitalism, like the system, the way to fit into it is to be the doctor on the side of the street helping somebody with their wounds. And in that metaphor sense, like, that's the value. You need to provide value to others, and when you provide value to others, that's when the entire system works in your favor, because we're all a part of it. You can't get out of it. So that's how I see it. And now my phone's ringing, but I'm not going to answer it because it looks like a spam call. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed, so I'll see you guys later. Bye.